2022 was pretty mixed. Some big highs, some big lows, some really fun adventures, massive frustrations. That's quite a tough question because it's such a fickle sport. I think Kona kind of is just the be-all and end-all at the moment. The performances that people remember and the performances I think that people really judge you by as an more Ironman-focused athlete as opposed to someone who does both very well, which is not me at the moment. Just think Kona is the result that matters from a sponsor point of view, from a fan point of view, from an athlete point of view. Coming 5th at St George was amazing and I had a good race there, so for me that felt like a fair reflection of where I was and putting together a good performance. But especially in a year where there was 2, I think had St George been in 2021 and it had been the only world champs, I think it'd be a bit different. But I think because we then had Kona, that kind of 5th place doesn't feel that meaningful anymore. It feels like, because even though it was only 6 months ago or however long it was, because we've now had Kona, it often feels like you're only as good as your last result, or like your last result in a stacked field, which was Kona. But I also think part of being a pro and part of the fun of it, the challenge of it is learning from experiences and trying to take some of the good things and some of the bad things and try and work out how to make them better going forwards. I also, whilst Kona was a massive frustration, there are still loads of positives to take out of it. I think mainly that I actually finished because there were so many points during that race that I really didn't want to finish. Yeah, I think just some of the things that did go okay. And it also makes it massive fuel in the fire for next year in terms of having some of those really good races, but also knowing that there's so much more to come. Because I think also part of the thing that motivates me is that kind of continually getting better and trying to improve and trying to compete with the best in the world. In some ways, not having that good Kona means that I've just got even more to work on over kind of winter and the next few months. In some ways it's exciting because it's like there's massive opportunity. Obviously I still would have rather had a good Kona, but you just have to kind of deal with what you had. I was trying to work out kind of like what was the main difference between sort of St George and Kona in terms of having a good race versus a bad race. And I definitely think like in the run up to St George, I'd had such a good block of probably like 5 months of like really good, consistent training, no like injury niggles, everything kind of went right on the way up to it. Whereas post St George, I had the Achilles issue, I wasn't really running for ages. The build up to Kona was definitely a lot more, I just wasn't that consistent and it wasn't like a really good block of training. So I think when you look at it like that, it's kind of slightly understandable that St George went way better than Kona. It definitely makes me reflect for next year though, in terms of sort of how many races to do, how to structure the season, because I think I definitely seem to respond quite well to having that kind of consistent block of training. So is then trying to juggle how many races do I do, particularly if we're getting all these new PTO races, almost that, how many of them is it worth doing on balance to A, try and race because it's fun, B, try and make some money, versus if Kona is then still the big aim, not compromising that performance. So yes, I think it's in that way this year's been good to play around with that a little bit. I guess I tried a couple of different places to train. Flagstaff before St George was really good. Like, I definitely think I'll be going back there at some point because it was just really nice training. And I'm quite keen to do a bit of American gravel next year, so Flagstaff's probably quite a good training base for that. Texas as well, from a Kona camp. I think it was really good in terms of company we had out there, the actual training we managed to get done. It's not for me, the nicest place to train. I don't really like that kind of riding of just long, flat, straight roads. Even though I also think it is really good Kona training. I might look to do something different before Kona next year, if it is still in Kona. Overall, I think I'd sum up the season as some really big positives in terms of general progress made. I think especially on the swim, even though I don't think I've shown it that much in races, Swansea is probably the only race I showed those swim improvements. But it's like, I know it's coming, I know it's gradually getting there. Hopefully like a really good winter of swimming now means that next year I can be in a way better position, because I definitely think I'm just giving myself way too much work to do on the bike at the moment. Swim is improving and getting there. The run is starting to come through to where I think I have that potential. Again, I still think there's way more to come. And I do think that the Primex made quite a big difference for me. So if they get banned as well, then that's another just rethink of which shoe do I then think is best for me? Because I think brands are obviously starting to develop lots of different shoes, so it's kind of working out which one's best. And I think even though some of the frustrations, say with races like Kona, the positives to be taken out of training camp beforehand, the general experience on the island, you know, there were so many positives to come out of that. People that I got to hang around with and get to know a bit better. People like Lisa, just, yeah, I think there's still lots of positives to take despite some of the frustrations. I actually think winning Israel is probably my favourite moment. I guess from a performance aspect, I think it is my overall best performance. I did it after not a perfect lead up, and to win by a margin like that just actually feels really good. I mean, St George was also amazing. If it's St George and Israel would be quite closely tied, because I think St George also then had some of the other people that I'm really close to out there that we were also celebrating some of their races. Israel kind of had that as well with different people. Probably those two from a performance perspective. I think, and in some ways, like St George, because actually like some of my family were out there as well. Actually, that was really special, and getting to go and celebrate with them was really nice. Probably one of the things I've realised this year, more than perhaps before, the importance of all those people you surround yourself with. I think not just like a training perspective. I think some of it's from that general friendship, support group. Just looking back at some of the best fun moments this year, it's all been about who have I been with. That's what's made it fun, as opposed to kind of necessarily where it was, or even like the kind of results. I'd say Kona was still a really great trip because of those people and some of the fun we had. And now I'm getting all soppy. We'll end on a nice, warm, fuzzy, Christmassy